Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Knights of the Dawn podcast, where we talk about everything Brandon Mole. My name is Megan.
And I'm Jessica.
And today we're going to be continuing our discussion on the first book in the Beyonder series, A World Without Heroes. And we'll be talking about chapters 16 through 19, White Lake through Pythoness.
Yes, we're going to do a little double arc on this one. Last time we were focused solely on Transicore. It was a really fun little, I guess not side quest, considering it was a very, important part of the main quest.
Pretty important.
But we're going to get through two of those little adventures in this little section.
Yeah.
So it'll be fun.
And we get another name chapter.
Ah, yes.
All right, so previously on Beyonders. Previously on Avatar.
On Beyonders.
Jason owned Capernaum and took the chancellorship.
Oh, that's still, one of the top 5 moments. It's just,
Really?
So good. The way he just completely did not expect to win, but still had a winning quip ready to go just in case.
Yeah.
Love it so much.
So good. So yeah, as we talked about last time, took over the chancellorship, got another syllable, almost was killed by an assassin, and then escaped Transicourt, and now is met back up with Farron and Rachel. And they are on their merry way to a not-so-merry place called White Lake.
Yes, we join them at the very beginning of chapter 16. They are in the coach, leaving the Stumbling Stag. They're a few days into their journey towards White Lake, and Rachel is contemplating existence. And correct me if I'm wrong, is this the first chapter from Rachel's POV?
Yes. It is the first Rachel POV chapter. I failed to mention that at the beginning. This is great. We finally get Rachel's point of view.
Yeah, looking back, I was like, man, is this entire book from Jason's perspective? Because that's very interesting if it had been. But I forgot to remember that this was a part of it. Because it's a very good, important part to be from Rachel's POV, which we'll learn about in a minute. But it also just gives us a really good window into her brain.
I think this might be the only full chapter from her POV. There's one other part near the end of the book that I think is from her POV.
Yes.
But I don't think it's a full chapter. So, yeah, this is the only full chapter. Which is cool because, as interesting and good as Jason is, I'm ready to be in Rachel's head for a bit. It's fun.
It's very similar to, book 1 of Fablehaven.
Yeah.
It's entertaining to be in Kendra's head. You need Seth sometimes, though.
Yeah, it's good to get inside Seth's head and see how he thinks. Yeah. But yeah, it's fun. There's a funny little part at the very beginning where they're, in the coach and they're trying to sleep, but it's really bumpy and bad, and she's like, I know it was bad because Jason can't sleep. And Jason can sleep anywhere, as we know, so.
But at the same time, we also, in this little foray into her mind, we see that how her opinion of Jason has evolved since they first came to Lyrian. She's observing Jason trying to sleep, and her train of thought goes, at first he hadn't struck her as the sharpest knife in the drawer, but she was starting to realize she could have gotten trapped in a parallel world with somebody much worse. So, there's some thawing. High praise.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like we've seen through Jason's point of view as well, at first he didn't really like Rachel, but when he was alone in Transicourt, he wished that they could still be together and he didn't have to be alone. So it's nice to see that again from Rachel's point of view of okay, they might have butted heads a little bit in the beginning, but they're in this together and they need each other.
They found a balance in how they work, and it's working for them. She also contemplates Farron as the perfect guide, knowledgeable, skillful, and well-traveled, plus he was funny and not bad-looking. She was grateful for their friendship. He acted so grateful for their friendship it made her furious at the rest of Lyrian for discriminating against his kind. We're going to have words about that later, but we're going to continue on for now.
Yeah, we'll come back to that in a second. All right. So they decide to. So there's a lake called White Lake. Well, lake with quotations around it. And there's a city or town called White Lake. They're not going to the town, they're going to the actual lake. And so at a certain point in the road, it's like not worth it to keep going on the road because it's not taking them to their destination. So they get out of the coach, and Jason tells the driver that he can go back to Transicourt. And the driver is like, are you sure? This is not where I thought I was taking you. And then the driver is like, basically insinuating like, oh, if this guy, being Farron, is like forcing you to go somewhere you don't want to, I can take him out. And Jason's like, no, it's okay. I promise. I'm fine. Like, you can go.
And I mean, I'm all here for it. Evan's a ride or die. He pulls a crossbow on Farron. He is ready to lay it all on the line for Jason, being like,
right?
This really just goes to show, like, Jason in beating Capernaum in that battle of wits, he earned some clout.
That's true. That's a good point. He definitely earned respect from a lot of people.
Like, Norval was ready to die, die for him.
And
did die for him. The Regent, Dolan, was, like, at least respected him and was willing to help him evade certain death by sending him to Harthenham. Like, Jason has raised some eyebrows and impressed some important people. So I think it's really cool just how willing that Evan was to just be like, I got you.
Yeah, he's like, if you're in trouble, I got this, don't worry. But yeah, so they spend the night camped out, and then the next morning they make their way up to the lake. And Farron has said multiple times, why are we going here? The lake is cursed. Like, it's not really a good place to go. He says, supposedly the lake is bewitched. Even the hardy folk of the wildlands keep their distance, which should prevent us from meeting interference. But he's also like, this is not really the place to be.
Mm-hmm. Farron also mentions that they're being followed, that he has noticed a single person staying well back, and he's only half glimpsed him a few times. It's only been recently, so there's a possibility that it's just a hunter watching his territory, but he just wants to say, it's possible.
Mm-hmm. So the lake is basically like on top of a mountain, and Jason is like, oh, it looks kind of like a squash volcano. And Farron says, well, volcanic activity may explain the tales of the unnatural lake. So they get to the lake, and let's see, where's the description? Okay. The top of the broad mount looked like a round caldera of a volcano, filled almost to the rim with a sludgy white fluid. A small island, more like a rock pile, poked up near the center. The surface of White Lake was unnaturally smooth. Heat radiated off from the lake, making the air shimmer. A smell like overboiled eggs permeated the air.
And they run some experiments with this interesting liquid. They place a flat piece of wood that would normally float on any liquidy water on top of the lake, and it disappears in like half a second. It sinks immediately down into the liquid, which is opaque, so nothing can be seen.
Mm-hmm.
Rachel observes that it looks like pancake batter, so that's a nice image.
Yeah. Farron is like, he's saying like he doesn't really know much about it. People say the White Lake is cursed. If no one comes here and nothing floats on the lake, I can't imagine anyone's made it to the island. Nor can I imagine why you two would want to go there. I'd hate to watch you drown. Like, It would be a bad place to drown. But
yeah, he does make a comment like, man, are you guys trying to make a tour of the most dangerous places in the entire continent?
Yeah.
Pretty much.
Pretty much. So, like you said, they start doing some experiments, and instead of putting something on the lake, they try bouncing some rocks, and the rocks bounce a lot more, than would be normal.
They come to the conclusion that they have encountered a non-Newtonian fluid basically comparable to Oobleck.
What is Oobleck?
You've never played with Oobleck?
I don't know what that is.
Oh, wow. Okay, Oobleck, I think you make it using cornstarch and water.
Is it like slime?
Kind of. But, like, it's very literally, if you punch it, it forms a hard surface.
Oh.
But if you approach it slowly, your hand sinks in.
Yeah, I don't know if I've ever...
I can't believe you've never played with Oobleck. I feel like that was like a formative... I feel like that was a formative experience in my childhood.
Oobleck.
Oobleck. It's like...
A fascinating non-Newtonian fluid made by mixing 2 parts cornstarch, 1 part water. Behaves like a liquid when poured slowly, but instantly turns into a solid when force is applied. Okay, yeah, this is exactly what it is.
Mm-hmm.
I've probably done it when I was a kid, but I don't recognize the word.
Like, I'm looking on YouTube right now, and there's, like, videos of people playing with Oobleck.
It's from Dr. Seuss?
Yes, it is from Dr. Seuss. The name is, anyways.
Okay. I assume I probably did it sometime in elementary school, but apparently it wasn't as often or as formative as for you, because I don't recognize the name.
Yeah. But yeah, basically, Oobleck, basically the appeal for it as children is, it would get really messy, but like you could pick it up in your hands, and as you picked it up, it would be a solid, but the second you stopped applying pressure, it would turn to liquid and seep through your fingers. Now, unlike the material in the book of the White Lake, it was not scalding hot, it was just room temperature. Yeah. And very, very rarely did you have enough to fill more than a bowl, let alone an entire volcanic crater.
It would be a lot of cornstarch.
A lot of cornstarch.
But yeah.
I think people have done experiments with, like, pools where they have actually been able to successfully run across.
I'm sure Mark Rober has done that or something.
Probably.
Something similar.
I think I've seen people do, like, will it stop a bullet, things like that.
Oh my gosh. Wow. That's crazy. But yeah, so they observe that the surface hardens against pressure. And Rachel decides to try to stomp her foot on it. And when she stomps her foot, it's fine. Only, she says, feels solid, only yields a little. Kind of like a trampoline strung a little too tight. But then, the next thing she does could have been a fatal mistake. She dipped her foot in slowly. The syrupy lake folded up around the bottom of her foot. And Farron jumps forward to help her, because once her foot starts going in, she feels a really strong suction that starts pulling her boot in further. And she tries to yank her foot out, and because she tries to yank it out fast, it hardens up against her foot. And she has to have the support of Jason and Farron holding her up while she slowly pulls her boot out. So if she had been alone, she would have died.
Done.
Yeah.
Jason puts it pretty much perfectly. It's the perfect quicksand.
Yeah.
It sucks you in, but without you, but whenever you try to resist, you just freeze in place.
Mm-hmm.
Terrifying.
Very terrifying. Also very hot, like you said.
Oh, yeah.
If you touch it with your bare skin, it would burn you. Or likely.
And the heat is just radiating off of the lake itself.
Also, something interesting, once she pulls her boot out, it's like covered in the white stuff, but then as she like sits there for a second, it like oozes off of her boot and like forms into a puddle. So it like doesn't stick to you once you're out of it.
Which is different from Oobleck. Usually Oobleck would leave some residue.
Yeah.
I wonder if I'm like infringing on copyright or something. Sorry, Dr. Seuss.
I mean, you can say it. You can. Yeah. We're not selling it.
Yeah, probably why it's not in the book.
The more you talk about it, the more I'm like, I feel like I have like a vague memory of playing with it sometime in elementary school. But, yeah. Comment below if you've played with Oobleck, because I clearly haven't. I played with slime.
This was like the OG slime. Like, if you didn't have glue... Well, I guess slime's like glue and...
Slime uses glue, typically. Yeah.
What's the other part of it? I don't know. Half the time my students would come in with slime and I'd just be like, just...
Is it also cornstarch?
Maybe?
That's what I thought.
I know it's majority glue, or at least that's the activator.
Let me Google it.
And now we must experiment.
Slime recipe.
I had to go basic. You never know what's going to come out.
How to make 3-ingredient slime without borax. Okay, so sometimes it uses borax.
I feel like I have heard of borax before.
Okay, glue. Oh, baking soda.
Baking soda.
Borax.
What is borax?
Well, this is interesting. It says you can use contact lens solution. Must contain boric acid or sodium borate.
Huh.
So it has to have some element of borax.
If I were not so comfortable, I would get up and check my contact solution to see if I can make it right now. But it ain't happening right now.
There you go. Yeah. Can make some slime later.
Mm-hmm.
Or some oobleck. I have cornstarch. Anyway, Oobleck and slime aside.
Yes. Rachel decides that this is the next cliff and she's the one who's jumping.
Yeah. Though I will say, Jason is kind of bold. He's like, guys, we can run across it. And he just, like, jogs out and jogs back. He just goes for it.
He sends it, especially when Farron's like, let's be careful. And he's like, no, it's fine. Let's just watch.
Farron is like, wait, let me do it. Because if I lose a foot, it doesn't really matter as much because I'm not going to die.
And Jason's like, nah, I got it.
Yeah, he's just like, nope, runs out, runs back.
Yeah, he only goes like 15 feet. He tries, like, he specifically is stomping his feet to increase the amount of pressure that he's putting on. And the jogging means that his feet aren't resting long enough on the surface for it to soften and for the pressure to dissipate, for the the impact to dissipate.
Yeah.
But the experiment is successful. He does not die, and he's like, yeah, we can do this.
And Farron is trying to convince him not to go, because he's like, wait, someone told you to go out there? You know.
You're gonna die.
And then he's like, I just not sure if what you're seeking is worth risking your lives. And they're like, yeah, it is. And so, yeah, Rachel convinces Jason to let her go, because she ran track and cross country, or track. I remember.
She did track.
She did track.
She said she did hurdles and pole vault.
Pole vault, yeah. You did track in high school.
I did. There's a reason I didn't do hurdles, though. Like, I will say this for her. Depending on which hurdles she did. Like, I feel like the 100-meter hurdles, like, because there's a difference between aerobic and anaerobic activities.
Yeah.
Sprinting short distances, like the 100, the 200, and including, like, the 100-meter hurdles, those are considered, I believe it's anaerobic.
Anaerobic, because you don't really need to breathe much.
You don't need to breathe. You can get through it without having to breathe.
Yeah.
Anything above 300 meters, and especially the 300-meter hurdles, that is brutal.
Sounds terrible.
Like, I even hated just doing regular 300s. They were just so weird. But the fact that if she did the 300-meter hurdles, she is a different breed. And that's what I'm inclined to think of with her being like, I can do this. She says, I'm a runner. I'm built for distance. She says she could easily maintain a brisk jog for 3 or 4 miles. And she says, I can do it even combined with the factors of the unnatural heat that's rising from the lake, which I'm going to be honest, it's probably like running through Phoenix at noon, where the ground is just radiating heat back at you and turning it into an oven.
Ugh.
Because, I mean, you touch the ground in Phoenix at noon. Like, there's a reason they tell everybody down there, like, you need booties for your dogs. Mm-hmm. If you can't put your hand down on the ground for more than 5 seconds, your dog's not going to want to either.
Exactly.
But she is confident that she can do it, regardless of the risks. And I say more power to her. This sounds like a special kind of absolute torture to me. And that's coming from someone who ran a half marathon last week.
Yeah. Yeah, by the way, awesome job. Let's all give a round of applause for Jessica.
Okay,
She ran a
thank you
half
very much.
marathon. Okay, don't diminish it. It's impressive. I cannot run a half marathon. I've only run a single 5K in my life. Like, couldn't do it. Couldn't be me.
Well, I appreciate it. I will take my bow.
Good job.
I have been wondering, though. I was reading this and I was trying to figure how far I actually think that little pile of rocks is.
Right? I have no idea.
Because it's described, the island that they're trying to reach, it's described as she can see it as a pile of rocks. Once she gets closer to it, she says it's more like a pile of boulders. So it's a decent-sized island, but it looks pretty small from the distance. And also you have the distortions of the lake itself from the heat mirage.
It's a pretty big lake.
It's a big lake. They never give us a distance, which kind of pisses me off. I really wanted to know.
I think it's like a mile, 2 miles? I don't know.
That wouldn't surprise me.
That feels insanely large.
Oh, yeah. Like, I ran 2 miles yesterday for cross-country practice, and I was already just like, eh.
A mile? I have no idea. A mile feels like big. For a lake?
Especially also to
Just
see.
into basically the middle of the lake?
Yeah, how wide is this lake in diameter? Do they describe how tall the mountain is? That might give us something.
So, I don't know. Maybe it's less than a mile? I don't know.
I would say it's at least a mile just based on her descriptions, because it accurately describes how I've felt sometimes when I'm approaching a mile. Depending on the pace.
Yeah. But she's wearing heavier boots and the heat. Okay, we'll say at least a mile.
We'll say, yeah.
I never actually thought about it.
So how do you think you could see an island clearly in the middle of it?
But if the island is described as like a pile of rocks, but then when she gets closer it looks like a pile of boulders, it's probably not as far as we think.
Yeah.
Because if you're like more than a mile or two, yeah, max 2 miles.
We'll at least compare it to running a full mile in Phoenix summer at like 3 o'clock in the afternoon.
Which sounds terrible.
Yeah. So
plus the added pressure of if you stop running, you die a horrible death.
Honestly, that might be a plus for a lot of people. Honestly, running is a mental game.
Yeah.
Running is a mental game.
It's not great for people with anxiety, I'll tell you that.
Oh, no. But honestly, what my coaches wouldn't have given to have this kind of like motivation at a workout or at a race.
Life or death. That's crazy.
I had some coaches who probably wouldn't have seen any problem with that kind of motivation.
I feel that. All
right, so Rachel decides she's gonna be the one to jump off this cliff. And she preps herself, she does some stretches, gets herself ready to go. She's just talking to Jason, just being like, I've got this, don't worry about it, keep an eye on me. Don't waste time if I fall. And Jason is clearly very anxious about this. He's like, yes. I can't believe I'm about to let you risk your life for this.
He's like, if you're gonna fall, don't go.
Honestly. And, like, Brandon does a really good job here of just, like, showing us how, like, stressed he is. Like, when he's debating it, he's puffing out his cheeks and just going, like, like, you could just tell he is stressing up. He's like, if you slip, I'll never forgive you, and I'll never forgive myself.
Yeah, Jason is very stressed at this point. Because he wants to be the one to take all the risks because, he can't handle...
It's easier.
Yeah, he can't handle watching his friends get put in danger. But, it's commendable.
Yeah.
But Rachel is definitely more suited to this, so...
Mm-hmm. It's giving, if we die for them, I'll kill you, Harry!
True. So, yeah. Rachel embarks on her craziest run ever. Probably.
Mm-hmm.
running over a lake of hot pancake batter oobleck mixture. I don't know.
It's probably the best descriptor we're gonna. Oh, don't forget the boiling part. Don't forget
Boiling.
Well, it's not. I guess it's not
kind of boiling under the surface.
Yeah.
Simmering. I don't know. So yeah, she starts running, and like you said, it's a mental game, and she just got to keep going.
Oh, don't forget the overpowering smell of rotten eggs.
Yes. It's also stinky. So she has to remember that she has to like kick her feet down, like stomp her feet down as she runs, so that she like is putting off enough pressure onto the lake to keep it like firm. So there's a lot of variables she has to consider that are not normal to her regular like running.
Yeah. And she tries initially to keep her eyes on the island, but eventually she's just like, I can't keep doing that. And so she just, because her problem is it doesn't look like it's getting any closer, which is so true. Like, yes, like when I was doing my half marathon, as we were getting to the end, like I could see downtown Provo. I could see it getting closer and closer, but it was not getting closer fast enough.
Yeah.
I eventually just put my head down, and I was just like, we're just going to power through it. Because eventually that's really all you can do, is just... Because it's never going to get close enough. It's never getting close fast enough.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it says that she fixated on the surface of the lake directly in front of her, ignoring the island. Her deep breathing coated her throat and lungs with hot sulfuric smell that saturated the air. She could taste the odor. She tried to ignore the sensation because it made her want to retch. Soon her shirt was drenched with sweat. The temperature intensified to sweltering. It felt like jogging in a sauna. The scalding air tore at her lungs.
Maybe Texas, then, if we're talking humidity.
Yeah. It freaking sucks.
Yep, pretty much.
Now she's getting kind of close to the island. It says she's about several hundred yards away. And she says she feels the surface of the lake to feel tacky. And she realizes she's not... Oh, well, sorry, I skipped a part. She was getting tired and her legs were starting to feel rubbery, so she decided to hop on one foot instead to try and rest, and then it starts to feel tacky and she realizes she's starting to get lazy with her hopping, and so she switches back to running.
But, I mean, that was a very good strategy.
Yeah, it was.
Like, I don't know if it was hopping on one foot. She just says hopping in place.
Or hopping. Oh,
which can be, like, both feet.
True.
I mean, I feel like hopping on one leg would honestly probably defeat the purpose. Like, I'm just imagining her, like, bouncing up and down very quickly.
Yeah. For some reason, I always thought it said hopping on one foot. I don't know why. But yeah, you're right. She's just hopping. It's like, actually, now what I imagine is, when, like, you see people running and they get to, like, a red light and they have to wait for it to switch so that they can cross.
Oh, they're
I almost
just
picture
jogging in place.
They're just, like, jogging in place, but she's maybe more like hopping in place.
Yeah. For me, it was giving more, the beginning of a race. Do you ever see, like, sprinters or runners? They, like, do, like, those little, like, standing hops. Like, like, they pull their knees up to their chests.
Yes.
Like, obviously,
yeah.
I don't think it's quite as drastic as what she was doing, but just, like, a little... Just, like some bounces. Like, it'll work out your calves a bit more than it is the rest of your legs, but it gives the rest of you a little bit of a break. So,
True.
But again, it mentions that she can feel the surface starting to feel tacky, and she's like, oh, I'm getting lazy, and she's like, I've got to get moving. And so with that kind of motivation, she uses it to push herself forward and continue making progress towards the island. At one point, she actually trips, stumbles, and almost just goes down. At this point, she is tasting blood in her throat. Her breathing is becoming difficult. She's running inside an oven. She's struggling.
Yeah. At this point, she's dizzy and she is like, okay, it's only 100 yards away. Anyone can run 100 yards. And so she surges forward, pretty much literally about to collapse.
Mm-hmm.
She has pushed herself to her limits.
Nausea is coming in. She can feel the lake getting more and more suction. She says, against the soles of her boots, the lake felt like freshly paved asphalt. That's got some stick to it.
Yeah. And now she's down to only 30 yards. And so she increases to a full sprint because she's like, I have to get there before I faint, because she feels like she's like about to pass out. And she, after she starts sprinting, she actually falls. Her left hand slapped the scalding surface, then her right. She was going down, but instead of, falling flat, she rolls to keep her momentum and rolls back to her feet. So luckily, she kept the constant pressure with the roll and didn't, start sinking into the lake. And she
honestly
stumbles her way onto the rocks.
Yeah. Absolute unit right here.
Seriously.
Rachel earns my everlasting respect with this one.
Right?
Like, just the visceral way Brandon writes this, I'm like, yeah, I'm feeling that. I'm feeling the end of every 5K race, every 800. Like, I would seriously, I remember during high school, I would gauge how hard I had run my race based on how badly I was coughing at the end. Because you just can't breathe at some points. You're just hacking and just, like, it was so bad, like, I would seriously have, like, I could do, like, a deep hacking cough on command for years after my high school career in track, just because...
My gosh!
Like, it was brutal.
Dang.
And she's on the rocks and she's spewing vomit. She passes out and she's just absolutely dead. Props to her. Props to her.
But she survived. Thankfully.
She did survive.
She comes to and she's like, okay, I just passed out, but not a lot of time has passed. We're gauging on the position of the sun.
And she's also like, so maybe I live on this island now?
Yeah, she's like, I don't want to leave. I don't want to have to do that again. So, yeah. And the thought of her near-death experience actually makes her think about her parents. And she starts thinking, if I had died, they would literally never know what happened to me. And it just like causes her to think of her parents and how much she misses them. And I think that helps kind of like motivate her to get up and keep going. So that's sweet.
So she makes her way around the island. She's picking her way very, very carefully, and she manages to find a shadowy opening that seems to be the mouth of a cave. So she creeps in, and she sees that it's sloping downward for quite a distance. So she starts creeping down the tunnel, and it's getting cooler and cooler the farther she goes. Thank heavens.
Yeah.
And she finally makes it to the center, and she's very surprised at how far she's ascended, just because she's like, geographically, it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
How did we get here, Kronk? I don't know. By all intents and purposes, it doesn't make sense.
Doesn't make any sense.
So she finds a small pool at the center of a little cave with a pool of water in the center and purplish moss around the entire place. It's blessedly cool, and some daylight is filtering in. Sorry, continue.
Yeah, you're good. Then she hears a voice, and it says, "It's been ages since I've had a visitor." And she sees just a head of an old man on the ground near the edge of the pool. And she's thinking, man, before I met Farron, that would have really freaked me out. But she recognizes him as a displacer.
Still not great. Still not super comfortable with talking to a disembodied head, but...
yeah.
It's fine.
A head and, well, also an arm. That's all he's got.
Of course.
Yeah.
This is the displacer Malor?
Yeah.
Malar? M-A-L-A-R.
M-A-L-A. Malar, yeah.
Yeah. And he tells us his story. He is a displacer the majority of his body was taken and basically captured by Maldor once he was convinced to betray Maldor.
Yeah, he was spying. He was spying on Maldor, and Maldor found out and set him up for a trap. And
Exactly.
he was with a bunch of other people who were trying to, help him with his attack on Maldor. But obviously that didn't work. They were in the middle of the ocean, and he only escaped with the help of 2 other guys. Well, actually one of the guys died, but this guy named Drake took basically Malar's head and arm and swam back to shore and got him out. And he says he's kind of felt like luggage since then, being passed from person to person until he ended up here and has been protecting the syllable of the word.
He describes his capture, and I feel like this is just another nail in the coffin of Maldor's personality. He describes how he was forced to watch as the rebel leaders that he had been helping were put in irons and their forces were executed.
Yeah.
And Maldor had been there personally, and he publicly chastised Malar for his treachery, admonishing him and all who listened that any attempts to resist him would inevitably turn to his benefit. He had used Malar to draw these rebels out of hiding, and it was just like, it's just another way of him showing, you can't resist me. You can't beat me. Everything you do, I will just use to my benefit.
Yeah. Pretty insane.
So, he was eventually entrusted with the 5th syllable of the word, and has been here for years protecting it. So.
And he also says the last person to visit him was Galaran. And Rachel explains that Galaran failed in his quest and was captured and brainwashed and pretty much forgot everything about the word. But yeah. There's kind of like a funny little part because when they're introducing themselves, he's like, "Oh, I'm Malar." And Rachel says, "I am Lady Rachel of Caberton." And then it says, the white eyebrows went up. "Caberton, a handsome estate." And Rachel's like, "Not anymore. It's fallen into disrepair." And then he's like, "Ah, shame. In my day, it was one of the finest. Times change when you're shut in a cavern."
So, he gives Rachel the 5th syllable, which is Dra, D-R-A. So they now have the 1st, 3rd, 4th, and 5th. So they're missing the 2nd and 6th syllables.
Yes. And,
even better, Malar gives them the locations of both of those syllables. The 6th is in the heart of the sunken lands in the keeping of the Pythoness. And the 2nd lies very far to the southeast in the temple of Mienemon. And so, quest continues after this.
Yeah, and something interesting is that he says, I would not know where the 2nd lay were it not for Galaran. He is the only person I know to have ever found it. So, it's nice that Galaran did a lot of the heavy lifting for a lot of this quest. Yeah. Thankfully.
I believe Galaran even Malar mentions when Galaran is brought up, he's like, "Oh, did he fail? He was almost finished when he found his way here." So, at this point, we can assume Galaran probably already, when he came to visit Malar, he probably had 4, if not, probably 4 of the syllables. If
at
we're
least
talking
4.
Almost, like, he probably got the 5th here. Like, that gives 5.
Yeah, I would bet that he probably only had 1 more syllable after this. And then, well, we get to the important part.
The anvil falls.
The second most important part of this chapter after getting the syllable. Rachel brings up that, "Oh, you served Maldor, as did the other displacer Shalzared. Do many displacers serve him?" The head chuckled. "Have you been in a cave yourself? They all do, by covenant. We are his spies." Chills tingled up Rachel's back. "All of them? Are you sure?" To my knowledge, only Salzard and I have ever betrayed him. Our race was created by Maldor's old master Zokar. Things may have changed outside, but certainly not that much. So, big reveal! Displacers are Maldor's servants. So,
without
Farron,
exception.
Without exception, except for these two. So, Farron is obviously a displacer, so he serves Maldor.
And Rachel is absolutely flabbergasted as she reveals this. She's like, we're traveling with Displacer. And I love this little exchange afterwards. Because Malar's just like, how did you not know any better? Are you a Beyonder? Like, said in the same tone as like, are you stupid? Or, like, what, were you born in a barn?
Yeah,
and,
it was meant to be rhetorical.
So when Rachel nods, he's like, oh, that explains that. Oh.
Yeah. Yeah, he's like, oh.
I feel like there's a story to be made there.
He also, like, uses basically, like, a displacer slur after this. He says, how did you fall into company with this limb dropper? He spat the title as expression of contempt. It's kind of funny.
Which I find very interesting.
He's using it against his own kind because, well, he doesn't agree with them anymore.
Like, it almost makes me wonder, like, does limb dropper have, like, extra meaning besides just, like, you know, they could drop limbs? Like, I was, like, trying to think about what else it could mean. I was like, maybe it means, like, loyalty-wise, like, they can express loyalty to other people, but then drop it at, like, the drop of a hat.
To me, it just comes off as, like, a term, like, I don't know, I'm not going to say a bad word on here to, like, try and put, like, a equivalent in our language, but, you know, just kind of like a name of contempt, like that he said, of, like, a nickname to show contempt against the displacers.
Yeah.
I don't know if it really has, like, a second meaning.
Like, he mentioned, like, Rachel describes their meeting, and Malar is just like, yeah, that's a classic. And he's even, like, feeling ashamed of being a displacer. He's like, it was predictable, they played off your ignorance. He's just observing you. Just confront him, he'll go.
An observer. So I guess there's specific roles that displacers play, and Farron is directly called an observer. And Malar's like, that means he's been reporting your every move back to Maldor. So, yeah. That frickin' sucks.
That sucks worse than
very,
the lake.
Very big. It's just such a slap in the face that the one person that they've been able to, like, depend on, that has been, like, helping them since almost the beginning, since leaving Galaran, is loyal to their enemy.
It's definitely promising a very good conversation once she gets back to shore, though.
Yeah. So, Malar says he advises her to, like, basically, like, confront Farron as soon as she gets back. And he says that once you, like, confront him, he should, you know, depart. And, you know, so that's fun.
So Rachel starts preparing for her way back. Malar gives her some words of warning. She's like, as soon as you tell him to leave, life's gonna get hard.
Yeah. Basically, like, other minions of Maldor have probably been following them, and once Farron leaves, they will descend on you to capture you.
So Rachel preps, she gets some water, she has some of the moss, which is apparently very nutrient rich, so...
Yeah.
Apparently it's also disgusting, though, so...
Very bland.
You gotta feel bad for some of these guardians of the word, like... Right? Jugger forced to only eat seafood and, like, trickles of water as he grows old with only a Titan crab for company. And then...
It's true.
This guy's just a head. An arm. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's gotta suck.
Shows the dedication of these people.
True.
Very admirable. So, but I would not want to be in their position. She also takes just like a little power nap, kind of.
Who is she, Jason?
Yeah, pretty much. So she takes a little nap, and then the Malar wakes her up by yelling. It's like, it's time to go. And so she has to... It would suck. It not only sucks that she has to run it, but she has to run it twice in one day.
Yeah.
But he does suggest for her to go to the other side of the island because the distance from there to the shore is just a little bit shorter. So that was a good piece of advice.
Every little bit helps.
Yeah, exactly. As we saw, she barely made it there the first time.
Mm-hmm. And, like, she gets her water, she gets her shirt wet, she gets her hair wet.
Mm-hmm.
Very, very wise things. Yes.
Yeah. She's about to walk back out into the oven.
Gotta do what you can.
So, yeah, she leaves with knowledge that she was seeking with the syllable and a bit of a slap in the face with knowledge that Farron is a traitor.
Mm-hmm. The end of the chapter goes, "See you later." And Malar responds, "I doubt it. May you prosper in your quest. Safe journey." "Thanks, Malar. Safe moss eating." I mean, what else do you tell a head in a cave?
Alright, so that's the end of chapter 16. So now we go to chapter 17, Jasher. Back to Jason's perspective. And it starts with they see Rachel coming back out of the cave, and apparently she'd been in there for a while, and Jason is it says relief replaced anxiety. He had felt horrible when Rachel had tumbled at the end of her run, and then as he'd watched her motionless form on the rocky shore of the remote island. Finally she had arisen, disappearing into the cleft of the rocks. He and Farron moved to the other side of the lake opposite the cleft Rachel had entered, but hours had dragged past without sight of her. Jason had begun to lose hope she would ever emerge, starting to make her run back over.
And Jason, with the chivalry that we know and love, is like, we should go out and help her. Like, if she trips again, we could carry her in. And Farron's like, just think about it. We'd basically be running a 3-legged race.
Yeah.
He doesn't say this, but I'm just like, the comparison, you'd be running a 3-legged race with a dead weight in the middle.
Yeah.
You'd all go down, basically, most likely.
Exactly. Yeah.
And Jason's like, true, but I'm still going out if it happens, if she trips.
Yeah, he's still very anxious about her getting back. But she makes it. And of course is very out of breath and tired, but thankfully not passing out again.
And Farron immediately inquires, after she recovers a bit, "Did you find what you were looking for?" And she tries to bluff.
Mm-hmm.
"No, we had bad information. I found nothing, just an abandoned cave." And Farron's like, oh crap. Because he can tell immediately that she's lying. Like, he asks, why choose this moment to start lying to me?
He's so perceptive. Which, I mean, he is a spy, so.
Mm-hmm.
And then Rachel shoots back, because I just found out that you've been lying to us.
And Jason's world kind of comes crumbling down a little bit.
Yeah. And his parents like, what do you mean? And she says, I mean, you're spying on us for Maldor.
And Jason's very confused. But Rachel explains what she learned. And Farron just comes back with, did I ever claim not to be a spy?
Yeah. He's like, I mean, I didn't say that I wouldn't spy on you. Which is crazy.
I love them being both like, well, it was kind of implied.
Yeah. They're like, you're blaming us? We were supposed to ask? Where we come from, when you make new friends, it's implied that you won't spy on them on behalf of their greatest enemy. And then Farron's like, wow, the Beyond sounds wonderful.
That's what really punches it for Jason, because he's like, wait, you know we're Beyonders? Like, this is true, how could you?
Yeah.
It really sucks.
Yeah. And Rachel's like, so how much do you really know about us? And Farron's like, yeah, I know more than you've told me. I know that you're from the Beyond, that you've talked to Galaran, and that you're on a quest to find a word that can destroy Maldor. And I'm pretty sure you just got part of that word on the island. And he says, which, you know, it also kind of shows, like, his place in Maldor's
Yeah, I was gonna say his seniority.
Like, yeah, his seniority. Because he says that, like, not even everyone in Maldor's inner circle knows about the word. And so him knowing about it is pretty significant.
So Rachel's pissed. Jason's, I feel like, still in more of the... No, he gets to the piss stage pretty quickly.
He's in shock.
Initially, he's hurt, but he starts balling his fists pretty quick. And so Farron maintains calm pretty much for this entire confrontation. He's like, I've been mostly genuine to you. Like, he said, yes, I lied about being robbed initially, but he said pretty much everything I've done to gain your trust has been authentic.
Yeah.
Because when you think about it, he used many of the same tactics and deceptions that Vanessa and the Society of the Evening Star used back in Book 2 of Fablehaven.
True.
They set up a threat. Well, they set up a situation where their plant could be useful. In this case, it was with the 2 guards from the... I forgot their names.
Oh, yeah. The guy that had 1 arm and then had 2, and then the quote-unquote rescuers of the
rescuers. Yeah. And Farron was able to rescue them from that. He even killed someone who was intending to capture Jason and Rachel for Maldor in their defense. Set up a threat, he takes care of it, gains their trust. He was found in a very vulnerable position that they were able to help him with. Like, Brandon Mull really likes his manipulative antagonists.
He loves the manipulative tactics, and he loves his betrayals. That's like his top thing. He's like, yes, I know what the story needs, a betrayal.
There has been a suspicious lack of knives in the back of this story. I think we need to add some in.
But, I mean, this one's really effective. I remember when I first read this, I was like, are you kidding me? My favorite character is a traitor. That sucks.
What can you do?
Yeah. But yeah.
Especially because Farron really does seem genuine.
Yes.
And in many ways, he is.
That's the hard part, is that he says, I've come along as an observer, not an enemy. I truly enjoy your company and think very highly of you. Like, he truly does seem to care about Jason and Rachel and think that they're, good, genuine people, which makes it hurt worse. You know? Because if he had just been, a complete liar and, completely, I don't know, Hans from Frozen style, pretending to be one person and then...
Yeah, once he's exposed, he's like, now I can reveal my malicious evil plan.
Yeah. There's not really a mask for him to take off. He's mostly been himself, but just not telling the entire truth.
Exactly. And he even mentions part of his role as an observer is that he was free to be your true friend. He was intentionally seeking a friend relationship with them. He was not going into this with the intention of being able to one day, or at least he was not intending to be the person who sticks the knife in the back.
Yeah. He even says that he wouldn't be ordered to hurt them, and even if he was, he wouldn't do it. And I think that this tactic of truly befriending those that you're spying on shows the cunning of Maldor and his ways, because I feel like in a lot of other books, you would a spy would only be kind of pretending to be on someone's side, or pretending to care, but really just only care about the ultimate goal of spying and, you know, being on the side of whoever they serve. But Farron truly is does genuinely care about them in a way, and that it made him a much more convincing spy, because they would have never known except for them telling them that displacers are on the side of Maldor.
Yeah, and really quickly, I want to go back to... here we go.
Oh, yes. I remember now.
I'm going back to I believe it is chapter 3, The Word, yes. This is when Jason was at the repository of learning. He's in the what's it called? No, he's in the restricted section.
Ah, yes.
And he finds a book called The Subtleties of Manipulation, written by Damick.
Damick, yeah.
Damick. And he reads this section about manipulation. Manipulation is a quiet tool of majestic power, artfully manufacturing desires in others to suit one's own needs can be accomplished on an individual basis or on a worldwide scope. We see this with the worldwide scope with Maldor. He manipulates the world into falling into his hands. We see that with Trenzacourt, all of these things.
Mm-hmm.
Individual basis, we see it with Farron. He meant later on it mentions, let's see, the master manipulator, here we go. The master manipulator lies as little as possible. He believes most, if not all, of what he professes. This quality makes him difficult to unmask. Once a subject realizes he is being manipulated, defenses are engaged and future machinations become exponentially more challenging. But the most satisfying victories occur over adversaries who do not realize they have been conquered. And in many ways, that's what Rachel and Jason were.
Yes. Very true.
I wonder if Farron studied a copy of this, honestly.
Yeah, maybe it's in the trade, like the school for becoming a spy for all of the displacers. Wouldn't be surprised.
Mm-hmm. We do get a little bit of a history lesson as well right here. Jason's trying to convince Farron, like, just switch sides. If you like us, abandon Maldor. We could piece together the word with your help. And Farron just has to laugh at that possibility. He's like, if you want, I could pretend and keep spying if you want. But he says it wouldn't matter. I'm your friend, but my first allegiance is to my duty.
Mm-hmm.
Displacers learned long ago what it means to be on the losing side. The races Eldrin sired, the Amar Cabal and the Trinlings, inherited homelands, while the races of Zokar became wandering fugitives, despised and hunted. Last time the Displacers fought for the wrong wizard. This time we stand with the only wizard. Do not delude yourself. Maldor will prevail. His real struggle ended years ago. Now he's just mopping up.
Yeah. So he admits that part of it is like they're choosing the winning side, and it's kind of almost like, you know, in his blood, basically, as a displacer, to be on Maldor's side.
Yeah.
There was a part in the last chapter from last time that we discussed that we wanted to bring up. So in chapter 15, Chancellor, when Jason meets back up with Farron at the Stumbling Stag, he talks to Farron saying, like, he explains how he has the carriage because the Duke Dolan thought he was going to Harthenham because he got an invitation to the Eternal Feast, and then he's like talking to Farron about it, and Farron's like, oh yeah, actually you might want to take that, and Jason's like, I don't really believe that it's like a real place or like that's really good. It's more like a prison. And then Farron's like, oh, well, as prisons go, it would be my pick 10 times out of 10. And then he says, you're an interesting person, Jason. There's more to you than a glance would reveal. And I feel like that line has a lot more meaning now that we know that Farron is a spy and that he's like thinking in the back of his head, you know, like it's kind of like a way that he's like judging Jason's character, you know?
Yeah.
In a way that he will, like, report back to Maldor. Or just, like, you know, like, there's a lot more depth to that sentence than what it was just when we first read it, before we knew about Farron being a spy.
And also, before Farron is ousted from their company, he asks one final question. He says, you're from the Beyond. Why do you care about stopping Maldor anyway? Jason, of course, quips initially. It just sounded like fun. He's pissed. You can't blame him.
Yeah.
But Farron genuinely wants an answer, because this is probably something he hasn't been able to quite ascertain just from his observations. And he just can't fathom why somebody who doesn't really have skin in the game would put their neck out on the line like this.
Yeah. This connects directly back to that part that I was just reading, you know? This
Exactly.
conversation is very important.
So Jason decides to actually genuinely answer. And he says, I came to Lyrian by accident. I found the stupid book by accident. Then I met Galaran, who had explained about Maldor. Even after leaving him, I was still most interested in getting home. And Farron's like, great, let's do that. Go to the feast, I can get Rachel in too, and I can find a way for you guys to get home.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
and he even says, like, I might be able to help you getting home. This isn't your world. This isn't your battle. Like, he just still can't fathom why they care so much.
And then Jason just is like, but it is now. It's becoming my battle. This isn't my world, but it is a world. A whole world with innocent people. He describes the people who have been hurt helping him, like Aster, Franny, Norval. All of these people who've been hurt just for either associating with him or trying to help him or fighting for him. And I love this line. The more I see of those who work for Maldor, and the more I see of the few people who try to go up against him, the more I realize this is truly good against evil, and good is losing. What if we can change that? Mic drop. Jason, you got some bangers, boy.
It's such a good quote, and I feel like this is something that they already had inside of them, but I also feel like we see the influences of, like, Galaran, for example. Because the more that they learn about Galaran, the more that they see how he continued to stand up against it, and I feel like they're also inspired by that. But to their credit, like, Rachel and Jason have so much integrity to them that they say that, like, you know, it's not my world, but it's a world, and it's worth fighting for, which is, you know, very, very noble. And Rachel completely agrees. She's like, we have to try.
And Farron ends up going after Rachel a bit more. He's like, I can get you guys home with some effort. Don't you want to see your parents? And Rachel goes full tirade. She's like, of course I do. You can't imagine how much I love them, how much I care about them. But Jason is right. If we might be able to save this world, how can we walk away? Too many people around here have given up. Galaran said heroes sacrifice for causes. They do the things that others hide from. I may not be some great hero, but I won't hide from this. I could never live with myself. Mm-hmm. Love it.
Yeah, they both have two really, really fantastic, like, quotes that's just, like, their, you know, reasons for not giving in. Mm-hmm. Very, very good. And I think it's interesting because Farron, like, hints that he might have a lead of a way of getting back to the beyond. And like you said, he kind of uses that to try to convince Rachel, be like, don't you want to see your parents again? Don't you want to go home? And, you know, he's kind of, again, trying to manipulate them to get them to do what he wants, because in the end, he doesn't really want to see harm to come to them. Mm-hmm. So he's really trying his best to convince them to give up. But they stand firm.
But they managed to drive Farron away. They're like, we're done. We won't. They refuse to share where their next location is. And they're just like, go away. So Farron departs.
Wait, there's one part I've just noticed that I like. Well, it's just like a little detail that I think is interesting. Because right after, like, Rachel says her, like, you know, awesome speech, this part right after, Farron shook his head. He picked up a rock and skipped it across White Lake. He looked torn. When he spoke, he sounded sincere. I might be able to understand this choice if you had any chance of succeeding, but you don't. I'm telling you the truth. You will be dead or captured by tomorrow. The invitation to Harthenham will be revoked. It only remains valid if you come in voluntarily. And Jason again says, no deal. And then Farron is like, okay, I'll leave. But I like this little moment. I've never actually noticed it before. Where he, like, Farron is just, like, stopping and, like, trying to, like, just, like, think for a second. because he's just trying to think of a way to convince them, you know. And I like
and
how
also,
it says,
I feel like, comprehend why they're doing it.
yeah, because to him it's so illogical, and they just have absolutely no chance of completing their mission, because he, being a spy for Maldor, he knows exactly the kinds of things that Maldor has done, the lengths he will go to crush a rebellion, to like get rid of an enemy, and the resources that he can bring to bear against them. And I like that it says like he looked torn. Like you can tell that part of him really does like genuinely care about Jason and Rachel. And I like that these like little things that Brandon puts into this that really like shows that. But yeah.
But they stay strong. They shoo him away.
As Farron leaves, he gives one last little bit of advice. He's like, I'm striking off to the south. I won't be communicating with your pursuers. You should probably go into town for provisions, but be quick. Don't sleep there. Safe journey. Jason throws out, you're a jerk, you know, trying to lash out one last time. And Rachel's like, don't, things are bad enough. And Farron's like, he's right. I deserve to lose your respect and your trust. I'm not happy with how this is ending. I'll always consider you my friends. Enough words. You need to move out. I won't be following you. Forget about me. Hurry. I'd love it if you surprised me and got away. And so he leaves.
So Rachel and Jason start hustling in the opposite direction, trying to get away from him as fast as possible.
Yeah.
Understandably. Rachel shares the syllable with Jason. He slots it into its space in his head.
Yeah.
And he's like, okay, so we're off to the Sunken Lands next, which was the next closest syllable, to see the Pythoness. And I actually really love this next conversation because it gets into what we've talked about a lot regarding Jason and Rachel's family situations and how they both, like, their relationships with their parents and their families. Jason mentions, like, he saw how much the concept of going home, seeing her parents affected her. And he's like, hey, you were pretty brave back there. Like, it sounds like you have great parents. It must be hard to walk away from them. And Rachel acknowledges that. She's like, yeah, I miss them. I'm sure they're worried about me. I'm sure they're worried about me. And then she asks, like, yeah, you have a close family too, right? And Jason's just like, sort of.
Yeah. He explains how, like, he has, you know, his parents and his two older siblings, but his older siblings were so much older than him that he didn't really get a good relationship with them. And he describes it as, I never totally fit in. The house got really quiet after my siblings left, unless I was butting heads with my folks. Honestly, sometimes I wonder if my parents meant to have me. This part's really sad.
Yeah.
My brother and sister both have these fat baby books full of photos and stuff. Mine is empty.
Which, yeah. Like, I can even see that in my own family, and there's not a 10-year gap between the kids. Like, my older sister and I, there's, like, pretty decent, like, filling-ins of our baby books. But, like, my youngest sister, hers was pretty empty for a hot minute. Like, once COVID happened, my mom had a lot of extra time, and she used that to fill some stuff in. And my little brother, he was the first boy, so his got filled in a bit more as time went along. But, like, you can definitely see, like, as there are more kids, parents have less time, and the youngers do sometimes fall a little bit to the wayside, which sucks. They also get less restrictions and more liberties, which I think kind of makes up for it.
Hey,
but
don't hold that against us.
But
no, it's true.
Yeah,
when you have a big age gap, it can be hard.
Like, Jason is the youngest sibling by 10 years. His older sister is already married, and apparently, like, he feels more like she's his aunt than actually a sister. And his brother has no interest in sports. He connects with his dad because he also went into dentistry. He was more into debate and school. And Jason's just like, it's just me.
He's like, he feels like the fifth wheel in his own family.
Mm-hmm. And I think this was like one of the most heartbreaking exchanges. Like after Jason describes this, Rachel says, I've always kind of wished I had siblings. And Jason claps back with, me too.
Yeah.
Ouch. Because yeah, he had siblings. But at the same time, he didn't really.
And he also kind of describes, like, it's kind of funny. He's also just like, yeah, I kind of do what I want. Even when they try to ground me, I just argue until I wear them out. Which is so, like, younger sibling coded.
I was going to say that's so my little brother coded.
Because at a certain point, when parents get older, they're just like, I can't deal with this anymore. But it's also just, he kind of just, like, learned to, like, do things on his own and stuff.
Mm-hmm. And, like, we even saw, like, their relationship at the beginning of the book. Like, Jason, overall, he's a good kid.
Yeah.
He got his homework done. He was active. He was responsible. He had a job at 14 for crying out loud.
13.
Like, he's not a bad kid. He's not using their lack of attention as, like, an excuse to act out.
I would also say that I don't think his parents, like, dislike him.
No.
They don't, like, hate him. They're not, like, I wouldn't say they're, like, to the point of, like really, like, neglectful.
No.
It's more just, like, he was the youngest kid by a long time, and by the time, you know, they had him, or by the time he started growing up, his parents were just ready for, like, a new stage of life, basically.
Mm-hmm. And, again, he's not a troubled kid. He clearly could take care of himself, and maybe they used that, maybe they took a little bit too much advantage of that, being like, oh, he can take care of himself, we can let him do that.
Yeah.
And it cost them a bit of their relationship.
It's true.
But overall, Jason's not a bad kid.
No, he's really not.
Like, we can't say that his parents have, like, failed him, but they're never gonna have, like, and I honestly feel like this kind of occurrence can happen regardless of where a child falls in birth order in their family. Like, sometimes you're just not gonna have the same interests as the rest of your family.
It's true.
I have definitely felt that way sometimes, where I was like, I would nerd out about something and my family's like, cool. What are we talking about? And I know my other siblings feel about that the same way about some things as well. It's gonna happen.
Yeah.
It just sucks that for Jason, it's really, really apparent.
And I do love this right after, like, Jason says, I'm going to get you home, Jason said seriously. I promise. We'll escape whoever's chasing us, and somehow we'll finish this quest, and we'll go home, no matter what Farron thinks.
Yeah, because he just
Endless
knows
optimism.
how important it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's something I admire about Jason and Rachel, especially Jason. Like, he's, like, no matter how, like, bleak things are looking, he's still, like, has hope that they can figure out a way to make things work.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he's not really ever willing to give up.
Yeah. I also love that he's not bitter. He's not bitter of the relationship that Rachel has with her parents. He's not like, well, like, maybe you should have to stay here so you can, like, feel how I have felt separated from my family. He's just like, nope. You have a great relationship with your family, and that's awesome. Let's get you back to it.
He's very empathetic.
Mm-hmm.
Which is, you know, very mature for his age, but
mm-hmm.
Anyway.
Let's not beat that horse.
Yeah. Sorry, I couldn't resist. Okay, so now they're running to the town of White Lake to get some provisions and get the heck out of Dodge. And it's a rougher town, you would say. Mostly filled with what I would describe as mountain men.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
They head into the store and start buying some supplies, like some water skins, some dried meat and bread and stuff. And the
name of which they call gut plug, which I just find beyond amusing.
Not quite lambda spread, if you know what I'm talking about.
But it'll do the job.
It'll do the job. Exactly.
Hopefully it doesn't also plug the gut coming out as well, because that wouldn't be comfy.
Nope.
They're already drinking unfiltered water. They don't need extra dysentery.
Dysentery. Oh. Yeah, they're basically on
Yes,
the Oregon
I'm
Trail.
hilarious.
They're basically on the Oregon Trail at this point.
Jason is walking down the road, and he gets stopped by a short man who once had only one arm. And Jason's like, frick.
He's like,
Trouble caught up a lot more quickly than they'd hoped.
You again? So yeah.
And it's Tad. Tad was the name I couldn't remember earlier.
Oh yeah, because he's the only one that's still alive.
Yeah.
The other one's dead.
Yeah.
So Tad is like, okay, so here's the thing. Obviously, you know, we've been following you. We don't really want to cause a ruckus while we're in town, so I'm going to give you this horse, and you're going to go out of town, and then we're going to deal with you, basically.
Or you could just come quietly right now. That's also an option.
True. But, of course, he knows what they're not going to choose. So he offers them the horse, and then he also hints to them, he's like, also, you can't attack me. I told the sheriff of the town, the watchman, to watch out for me while I'm talking to you. And so, yeah, they have their little conversation, and Jason's like, well, we want 2 horses.
We're 2 people.
Yeah. And so
we're not doing any of that. There was only one horse crap here. It's not that kind of story.
You're not going to slow us down. Okay. So Tad is like, okay, we could try to get you another horse if you got the money. And he goes and talks to the watchman. He's like, yo, bro, you got a horse? And the dude's like, yeah, I'll sell it to you for 200 druma, which is a steep price. Very expensive. But Tad's like, to Jason, he's like, you got the money to pay for that? And Jason's like, yes, sure, I'll buy the horse. So they get the horse, and they start heading out of town.
Let's keep in mind that this was also, like, didn't Jason also pay, like, 200 Germa down for, like a 5-night stay at a luxury hotel?
Something like that. The watchman
I feel like
guy...
this is basically saying, like, oh, yeah, for 100K.
Yeah, no, he was literally like, yeah, I'll sell it to you if you pay me, like, some exorbitant amount, and then he actually does, so, you know, he's like, desperate.
Oh, yeah, take it.
Yeah, he's like, sure, 200 Druma, sucker.
Yeah. This is basically, like, in Percy Jackson, this is the guy who gets Annabeth's Lotus Casino card with unlimited funds for literally just taking these kids on, like, a 9-hour drive.
Exactly.
And he's like, oh, like, yeah, I'll give you my horse for 200. That'll set me up nicely for the future.
Exactly.
Hopefully he doesn't get that, like, you know, confiscated by the law, by Maldor's forces. Like, hopefully he gets to just live out his days in peace.
True.
He seems like a decent guy.
I like how he's like, for 200, the lawman snickered, be my guest. Jason's like, well, beggars can't be choosers, so...
Let's go.
Yeah, so they ride out of town, and pretty soon they start seeing, you know, other riders coming toward them, and basically they end up, like, cornered to where they really can't go any further, and there's people on all sides just surrounding them. Mm-hmm. So
I actually do really appreciate, though, like, right before the riders come into view, Jason is looking around and he sees one of those massive Oaklander bushes, you know, the ones that, like, were like 100 feet tall.
Yes. He
notices them, and he's been, like, thinking of possible ways to, you know, throw off pursuit, like getting off the horses, letting them go, and hoping that those will throw off their tracks.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, what about the Oaklander bush? What if we hide in the massive foliage and we could dodge the thorns and the wasps, but then maybe we can escape the pursuers.
Yeah.
And as he's looking at the bush, a horse with an armored rider comes charging out of it. And I'm like, great instincts. Next time, have him a little sooner.
Yeah. Picked the wrong tree.
What does the human value the most? Timeliness.
Timeliness.
To quote
exactly.
a certain wit.
There you go. So yeah,
Novel.
the horseman has his bow aimed at Jason, and he's like, I am Stannis, an Imperial servant, and I demand your immediate and unconditional surrender.
This man, by the way, also only has one eye, I believe.
I think it's the other guy.
Is it?
Oh,
Is it one of the other guys?
Yeah, there's a soldier, there's some manglers, and then there's maybe a few other guys, and then there's a displacer who has the eye patch.
Okay, yeah. Okay. So they got herded into this ravine by like four or three riders.
Something like that.
And then at the other end of the ravine, they come up with, on the fourth rider, Stannis, along with three manglers.
So there's what, like 7 people?
Adversaries, yeah.
Yeah. And they're basically like, we don't want to have to come make you surrender, so just, give up your arms and surrender. Like, you're cornered. There's not really anything you can do. Surrender.
Yeah. We also get our first look at manglers. They stand upright like tall men, but they are covered in rounded, shell-like armor that curved up over their heads. Shiny black compound eyes. What does that mean, compound eyes? Is it like goat eyes? Like with a rectangular pupil?
Maybe.
I'm going to continue. Stared out from the barbed masks protecting their faces. Hooks and spikes protruded from their armored bodies in all directions. Each creature had four arms, bristling with cruel blades of varying lengths and shapes. Various grinders and graters covered their torsos. Jason could tell the manglers were aptly named.
Compound eyes are like bug eyes. Like the ones that look like a bunch of like little eye like
little multifaceted.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
I don't like that. I don't like that.
Me neither. There's something to like about manglers.
They're giant, sharp roly-polies.
Sure.
They have a shell.
That's probably an apt description.
Yeah, I feel like they're just like a combination of like sharp blades, droidicas from Clone Wars, and roly-polies.
Yeah.
So, I'm scared.
Yeah, they're kind of terrifying. So Jason and Rachel are like, okay, I guess we have to surrender. And Rachel says, okay, we're putting our weapons down. And it says, as she spoke, Jason heard a sound like breaking glass. A brilliant flash originated behind a mangler, followed by a deafening explosion. The mangler blew apart, showering shards of blade and armor in all directions. A neighboring mangler also went down with the explosion, and Stannis, who was the soldier that was talking to them, was unseated from his horse as it reared and toppled over. And then Jason's like, wait, where did that Orantium come from?
Does Rachel have the Force?
Yeah. And then Rachel, as in the confusion, Rachel takes out her Orantium and is like, here, you're the pitcher, throw it. And so...
Because, like, at that point, the other manglers are charging at them.
Yeah. So, honestly, props to Jason. He's on his knees. So he's not even, like, standing up. And he throws pretty much a perfect throw. He hits the mangler in the chest, and it explodes. And then, after this, we see where the Orantium originated from. Because Jason sees, where'd it go?
A long-haired man was bounding down the slope. Yes. A sword in one hand, a heavy, doubled-up chain in the other. He headed towards the three riders, which had been behind them, who appeared to have forgotten Jason as they faced this new threat.
Leaping the last 12 feet to the floor of the ravine, the newcomer swung the 4-foot length of chain like a flail, taking the helmet off one of the riders and unhorsing him. The long-haired man rolled under the horse and regained his feet. So, he's got a sword and a chain, and he's going ham.
Knows how to use them.
Yeah. He's going ham on the remaining adversaries.
Yeah, he's going 3-on-1 right now, and he's winning.
Yeah. I like how Jason, like, prods Rachel to use her crossbow, and she tries to fire it, but the safety's on. And then I like how it says, the long-haired man did not require the help. Because he is just taking them down one after another.
So of the 3 enemies, he dispatches the 2 that were armored and looked more like traditional conscriptors really quickly. And he starts engaging with the 3rd man who had an eye patch, who gives us the name of our long-haired man, Jasher. He says, Jasher, you chose the wrong day to interfere. And Jasher responds with, I do not know your name, though I am too familiar with your kind. And so it describes his appearance a bit more. A good portion of his hair was caught up in a roll at the nape of his neck. To either side, it hung more than halfway down his torso. He wore loose brown robes, and his feet were bound in animal hides with leather thongs. A leather baldric held a sheath across his back. I am Turbish. Are you ready to die, Turbish? Jasher is such a dramatic king, and I love him.
Jasher is such a badass. Oh my gosh. He also only has his chain at this point. His sword is, like, stuck in an enemy somewhere. And he's still like, you ready to die, Turbish? Meet your end, basically. And so he hits him with the chain a few times, and then
literally knocks his head off.
Knocks his head off, and then stabs him through the head and kills him.
Mm-hmm. Displacer, in case we didn't catch that.
Yes.
Which I think does some good world building here, because how can something that can be chopped into tiny pieces be killed? It just confirms slicing, not the best move. Piercing is what's gonna do the then.
Can you stop with the head slicing thing? That was perfect.
Very, very true. That was great.
So yeah, Jasher then goes around and starts dispatching the remaining foes and their injured horses, sadly. Until he's all done, and he says, okay, they're all dead. And then I love how it's just like, Jason gawked at their rescuer, still marveling at how thoroughly he had annihilated the enemy soldiers. I'm Jason. This is Rachel. He's just kind of like, hi. You're awesome.
And we are introduced to our first member of the Amar Cabal, also known as this world's equivalent of elves.
Pretty much. We have Jasher of the Amar Cabal, and I like how he's like, first thing he says is like, after his name, that was an excellent throw of the Orantium, you know. Credit where credit is due. And then
he's a pitcher.
Yeah. And then he says, Galaran informed me you had one of his spheres. And then Jason's like, oh, you know of Galaran? And then he says, he's a dear friend. He got word to me of your quest and bade me lend a hand. I almost reached the crossroads in time to prevent your meeting with the Displacer. Once he was in your company, I chose to follow you, watching from afar. Now seemed the appropriate time to intervene. No kidding.
Very timely.
Very timely. Good timing, Jasher. So, that's pretty cool. We got like a super capable friend of Galaran who is now going to
replace our previous super capable friend.
Exactly, to now replace Farron. And he is not a spy.
Well, I mean, I guess he could be.
Yeah.
We just don't know for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, you would think that they would maybe question him a little bit more, but
they're not going to look at your horse in the mouth at this point.
He's pretty I mean, he did just like house all of these like Maldor's minions.
Yeah, if he's not on their side, they're screwed either way.
Also, the Displacer himself said, "Oh, Jasher," like he recognized him as an enemy.
Yeah,
I feel like that's pretty good evidence.
Then again,
also, the fact that he has Orantium, which apparently only Galaran really has. That's also another good indicator that he is with Galaran. I like this next part. I thought we were doomed, Rachel said. You were. Where are we going now? I love how Jasher's like, yeah, you were doomed.
He's very matter-of-fact, quick to the point.
He really is. He's the best. And then Jason's like, oh, wait, you're coming with us? He's like, of course, Lord Jason of Caverton, I will strive to keep you alive while you complete the word. And then he's like, well, we're going to the Sunken Lands. We need to find the Pythoness.
We love having a destination.
Yes. And someone who knows where they're going.
Mm-hmm. That's always a plus.
Yeah. So Jasher gets some of the horses that were unaffected, and they mount up to go retrieve Jasher's horse and then go off to the Sunken Lands.
Quickly, though, before they do that, Jasher also reveals another important piece of information about displacers. He runs his horse.
Yeah.
He runs his hands over the horse that Jason had ridden, the one that Tad had given them in the town. And he says, here we go. And he shows Jason and Rachel a human eye embedded in the horse flesh right behind the horse's shoulder. Which, ew.
Yeah. That's so,
ew.
Uncanny and gross.
Yeah. And the displacer that Jasher had just dispatched had an eye patch. And Jasher reveals that displacers can graft some parts of their bodies onto other living creatures. So, with the eye on the horse, Turbish could watch them do whatever they whatever they did. Or, as Jasher calls him, Turnip.
Yeah. I love how he just doesn't even remember his actual name.
Turnip or whoever he is.
He's like, yeah, whatever his name was. Not worth my remembering. But yeah, that's a good point. And then that explains why Tad was willing to give them a horse in the first place. Because, why would your enemy want to give you a gift?
And one of the follow-ups was, be wary of gifts from your adversaries. So,
got some good advice.
Yes, indeed.
Good advice. All of their companions give them advice. Farron was like, if you Druba, everyone's your friend. And Jasher's like, don't accept gifts from strangers or people who don't take candy from strangers.
No candy from strangers.
Exactly. Don't take gifts from people who are against you. But yeah.
So they finally get to what they deem to be a safe spot after they've retrieved Jasher's horse, as you mentioned. And Jason passes out, basically. They're tired.
Yeah. I really hope Rachel had a good night's sleep. She deserves it.
Oh, she earned that one for sure.
So yeah. Well, that's the end of chapter 17, Jasher. All right, so
on to
chapter 18.
The Sunken Lands. And so they travel for about a week from White Lake to the Sunken Lands. And Jasher uses this time to kind of catch them up on some of the lore on the Amar Cabal, which is a species, which is a race that we've heard a lot about. Apparently, besides Kadara, they are one of the only still independent nations apart from Maldor's rule, and their homeland has been called the Seven Veils of the Amar Cabal. So
yeah. It's really interesting because Jasher comes across as kind of like the stoic type, because when Jason gets him talking, Jason thinks, oh, this is the most words I've heard Jasher say all day. He's just not super talkative. He's pretty serious
until he gets going.
Yeah, until he gets going. But Jasher explains oh, my kind doesn't really sleep like you do. We kind of go into a trance where we kind of sleep, but we're still alert to things, so he can still
elves.
Yes. So he can still keep watch at night, which is great for Jason and Rachel's sleep schedule.
I was gonna say Jason is praising the heavens above.
Exactly. And then they start asking oh, why do you keep your hair rolled back at the back of your neck? And Jasher explains that it's the way of his people, the Amar Cabal. It protects their Amar. And Amar means seed. The Amar Cabal are the people of the seed. And basically, when they die, their seed dislodges, and then they can be replanted, and they are the seed is way that they're reborn. as like people, which is a very cool
Yes.
concept.
Basically, yeah, when an Amar Cabal is born, they wait for about 20 to 25 years until they're in the prime of their lives. And at that point, they are killed in a ceremony which is called the first death.
Yeah.
And then every time subsequently after once they are killed, they are planted and they regrow at that same age.
Yeah. Like you were saying, they're kind of like elves because they are very ancient and they live for a long time because they can just, they can live, full lifetimes and then just keep being reborn. And I kind of want to do like a little tally here because like Jasher kind of numbers all of the times that he's died. He says, 9 times I have perished in combat. 5 times I have allowed my body to be taken. So that's 14. Because it was nearly at the end of its usefulness. Once I drowned in the sea. 15. Once I fell to my death scaling a cliff. 16. And then my first death. 17. So he's died 17 times.
Fun.
That's a lot.
Yeah. There is a certain amount of risk, though, because the Amar, the seed, does have to be buried in fertile soil and ideally in a safe environment.
Mm-hmm.
Because, like, the Amars, they are durable. They can last for a long time without being planted, but after a certain amount of time, they will eventually decay and no longer be viable for planting. At that point, they will die a final death. And also, there are occasionally defective seeds, which will lead to a final death as well.
Yeah.
And it is to the point where if somebody destroys a seed of an Amar Cabal, it is an unpardonable sin.
Yes.
Even for Jasher, who was in exile from the Amar Cabal because of his resistance to Maldor's rule, if somebody were to publicly destroy his Amar, they would face the full retribution of the entire Amar Cabal race.
Yeah, this is basically the way that the Amar Cabal can, like, protect themselves. Because they say, if anyone destroys an Amar, they are the, like, immortal enemy, public enemy number 1, of every single person of the Amar Cabal. And so, like, that's their way to, like, protect themselves and their people. And, let's see.
But because of this, Maldor and the Amar Cabal have to kind of do a very delicate dance.
Yes.
Because, apparently, years back, an Amar was destroyed by a servant of Maldor. And it actually belonged to Jasher's brother, which sucks.
Yeah. Because they ask Jasher, they're like, oh, why do you oppose Maldor? And he's like, oh, because Maldor committed the unpardonable sin against my brother. But like you said, Maldor said that it was done by one of his displacers who did it against his own orders. But Jasher heard from, like, reliable sources when the displacer was, like, being executed, basically, that Maldor had ordered him to do it. And so, because of that, Jasher decided to oppose Maldor. But because Maldor had, said, I didn't tell him to do that, you could have him, basically, the Amar Cabal didn't want to involve themselves with Maldor, so they took the sacrificial lamb of the displacer, killed him, and then said, yeah, we're all good, basically.
They've decided they know they're being fed BS,
yeah,
but at the same time, they're like, we can't afford. They don't want to start a war at that point.
Yes.
They're just like, we're just going to allow this right now, but Jasher is unable to let that stand after what happened to his brother Radolso, and he's like, and yeah, I will have vengeance.
Yeah. His words are really, like, strong. He says, yes, I will bide my time, harassing him, slaying his servants, While I seek an opportunity to take his life, I must not fail, or his sin will go unpunished.
And the tricky situation that puts Maldor in is, even though that Jasher is in exile, if his seed is if he finds a way to destroy his seed, he has to do it with plausible deniability. Otherwise, he's back to square one.
Yeah.
Because he does not want the Amar Cabal to rise up yet. He wants to subdue everyone else so he can have he can take care of them at his leisure. So.
Yeah. I also like this little bit that we learned that, like, Jasher had been, like, helping Galaran previously in his search for the word. And even says, I was not present when he was taken. He had sent me on an errand. I would like to believe that if I had been present, he would not have fallen. You know. I like the confidence.
Not exactly. I was going to say, not exactly a humble king, but we love some confidence.
Hey, I mean, we've seen what Jasher can do just in like a little bit, so I feel inclined to believe him, honestly. So I like this, like, after Jasher's been talking for a while, he's like, so he wants to learn more about Jason and Rachel. He's like, so how did you two come to oppose Maldor? Galaran led me to understand you are Beyonders. I like how he's saying, like, Galaran didn't tell me you're Beyonders. He just kind of, like, insinuated it. Like, he didn't outright say it, which feels very
connected the dots.
Galaran.
So they repeat the tale of everything, and in the end, Jason says, Galaran encouraged us to pursue the word. He basically challenged us to be heroes. With Maldor already after me, I'm not sure I had any other choice. And I love this next bit from Jasher.
Yes, it's so good.
Because Jasher just says, do not dishonor your involvement. For each of us, destiny is a blend of potential, circumstances, and choices. Ugh, that is a delicious Scooby snack of a line. And he says, you could flee and hide. You could bargain with Maldor. You have chosen a heroic path. Walk it without apology. Banger. Absolute banger.
If Beyonders has something, it has amazing quotes about heroism.
Indeed.
And doing what's right. It's one of the best themes and things in these books. Mm-hmm. And I mean, we've already seen Jason and Rachel, you know, be given the opportunity to get out by Farron and stand on their beliefs. And it's awesome.
Yeah, and Jasher even draws attention to that. He's like, you've had attractive alternatives up to this point, right? He's like, yeah, we were invited to hearthen him. Farron hinted he could get his home. And Jasher's like, yeah, you've had all of these alternatives, yet you are here still, working, like, struggling through the wilderness. You picked the right road, even though it is the most difficult. That is the essence of heroism. Ugh, beautiful.
So good. I love that quote. Oh, it's so good. You picked the right road, even though it is the most difficult, which he would know it's the most difficult because it's the road that he and those he's been working with have been walking for who knows how many years. Mm-hmm. So, like, he can say that not just from, like, assumption, but from experience.
Continuing on, we encounter the Sunken Lands. I guess it can't all be sunshine and rainbows and talks about heroism. There's also got to be a bit of swamp.
Yeah. Yes.
And I love how, in the course of this singular episode, this is how the Sunken Lands are first described by Jasher. The contours of the land cause water to collect and stagnate there in a vast swamp, a festering breeding ground for foulness and slime. During a certain season, the Sunken Lands become inaccessible due to the rampant disease spread by impenetrable clouds of biting insects. This time of year, we should survive if we take the proper precautions. And some of the other obstacles that are encountered in this place include venomous snakes, spiders, frogs the size of horses, flesh-eating slime. Am I missing anything?
I'm not sure. I'm looking for where he lists them.
Well, I'm just, like, listing off a memory of how we encounter them.
Yeah. Yeah, like, slime, giant, enormous frogs, snakes, spiders. Yeah.
Yeah, basically it just sounds like a whole lot of suck. And a very inhospitable blend of Australia and Florida.
On steroids, yes.
Uh-huh.
Pretty much.
And I just feel like it's so interesting that in the course of these 4 chapters, we have gone from Arizona climate to Florida climate.
It's basically the place that you would never really want to go, but they're like, okay, I guess we have to go there. It's a good place to hide a secret, you know?
No offense to you Floridians.
Yeah. I feel like the Floridians would be like, that ain't nothing.
Well, I mean, like, you see videos of them, like, tapping alligators' tails.
They would probably, like,
out of the road.
Get on the frogs and ride them, honestly. I feel like a Florida man could do that.
Yeah, probably.
So, before they enter the swamps, well, first it's kind of gradual. It's like marshlands, and then it goes into the swamp. And Jasher finds these little plants that he's like, okay, eat this, basically. And what it is like this like gel that will, once they eat it, it will help repel the insects. They camp out on just outside the sunken lands for the night. And he starts telling them about like the super venomous snakes and stuff. And then Rachel is like, why did you have to tell me that? Like, she's really not liking this.
Well, he even goes so far as to say, oh yeah, one time I woke up with the most venomous snake in this entire swamp wrapped around my chest inside my robes.
Yeah.
He had to just sit there, staring at it all night, waiting until it got warm enough where the snake was no longer attracted to his body heat, and so it slithered out, and he was just trying to keep so still so it wouldn't attract any attention. And Rachel's just like, are you kidding me?
She's like, are you trying to make me crazy? Why would you tell me a story like that on a night like this? And then Josh is like, as a warning, Jasher said. More like psychological warfare, Rachel muttered. I think Jason, of course, has to get in on this. He says, I hear the snakes like the girls best, Jason teased. Rachel could be our snake magnet. I'm walking back to Trenzacourt, Rachel declared.
Honestly, I'm right there with you, girl.
I know. And then Josh was like, you know, Rachel, you should probably sleep in the middle. It's a little safer. And then she's like, okay. So she has the human shields.
Yeah, I love how she has no fear about running across an entire, like, lake that she could drown in with one misstep.
Right?
Spiders and snakes, though, that's a different story. Which, honestly, I don't blame her.
But you know what?
I'm with her.
Why'd it have to be follow the spiders? Why couldn't it be follow the butterflies? There's the Harry Potter quote for you there.
Mm-hmm. Quota filled.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, they fall asleep, and Jason wakes up the next morning and is like, okay, there's no snakes on me, thank goodness. But...
well, the only reason there aren't any snakes on you is because they're all slain outside the boat.
Also...
or, no, they're not at the boat yet.
There are no snakes, but I think we know why. It's because they stink. The little flower plant things that Jasher had them eat basically was like bug repellent, so that when they ingest it like makes their bodies excrete this really gross odor to just like repel everything.
Yeah, basically Jason describes it as his natural body odor had been grotesquely magnified.
I love when
Rude.
Rachel wakes up. She's like, ugh, what died? And then Jason's like, we did.
I mean, if it's between that smelling bad and attracting every bug and being eaten alive by mosquitoes, I'll take it.
Yeah. Josh is like, this time of year, the stink should suffice to keep the insects away. And then Jason's like, and the bears, and the skunks, and the girls.
I love that Jasher laughs at that, just like, yeah, he's human.
Yeah. And then in the...
sentient? I don't know.
And then he says...
Not really human, technically.
Yeah. He says, take this as a consolation. In the deep swamp, there are insects as dangerous as any snake. Be glad you will not make their acquaintance. As for the women, I suspect none of us will mind if the pythoness keeps her distance.
Well, I mean, yeah, with a name like Pythoness...
Sounds pretty dangerous, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, they start making their way through.
Jasher finds a skiff that his people have hidden around the swamp for the collecting of rare herbs.
Mm-hmm.
And they're off and away. This is when they mention the, flesh-eating slime.
Yeah.
With the intent of being able to dodge.
I have to stay on the lookout for that as Jasher maneuvers the boat.
The first frog they see is only just bigger than a rabbit. And Jason's like, oh, big frog. And Jasher's like, you think that's big?
He's like, you ain't seen nothing yet, buddy.
So they keep their voices down just in case, because some creatures have sharp ears. And they're moving through the swamp. They paddle throughout the entire day, and they eventually find a small island that they can take refuge on for the night.
Yeah. And Jasher...
Unfortunately, the noises.
Yeah, Jasher's like, nighttime in the swamp is terrible. So just prepare yourselves.
Because as night comes on, one thing, it becomes like pitch black. Jason can't even tell whether or not his eyes are open or closed because it's so dark. And the frogs start croaking. Some of the croaks were like massive belches, others almost musical, others fierce and threatening. And other songs also joined the chorus. High-pitched squeals began to warble in long, quavering notes. Low moans like the winding of the winding of giant horns drifted over the swamp from far away, as if some immense creature were mourning. A sudden clicking like castanets, sometimes alarmingly close, added a startling rhythm to the cacophony. The relative quiet of the day was utterly forgotten. And of course, Jasper's just like, try to sleep.
Get some sleep if you can. And then, yeah, they sleep very fitfully. And they wake up the next morning, have some breakfast, and Jasper's like, okay, we need to hurry today because I don't want to have to do that many more times. Mm-hmm. Jason says that Jason noticed several dead snakes along the island beside the boat, heads crushed or severed. And Jason's like, wait, were these here before? Josh is like, I had a busy night, basically.
It also mentions that Jasher had a bit of a hoarse, hushed tone.
Yeah.
And his throat had apparently gotten a little sore, which I found interesting.
Yeah, I didn't really understand why.
I was wondering if it was maybe like the climate wasn't agreeing with him, or maybe he just wasn't able to get as much rest.
Yeah.
Because he was so busy defending the boat.
Yeah, that's probably it. Like, I feel like when, like, you don't get a lot of sleep, you feel kind of sick. And so that's probably, like, the equivalent of him not getting to rest. Getting a little sick. But yeah. So they set off again. At the, let's see. Blah, blah, blah. In the late afternoon, they found a treeless lake. In the center was a long, muddy island, larger than any island they had seen in the swamp. At the far end of the island towered an enormous tree, both in height and girth. An arboreal skyscraper. I like that description.
Yeah.
Dwarfing all other trees within view. Its mighty limbs themselves, the size of the lesser trees, fanned out hundreds of feet to overshadow the entire lake. It's the frickin' tree of life over here. Mm-hmm. And then on the muddy bank squatted a frog the size of a horse.
I would like you to please pause, open up a new tab, and type in the search bar.
What?
OGGDO space BOGDO.
Ogdobogdo?
Ogdobogdo.
What's Ogdobogdo?
Please look at images.
Oh. 3 eyes. Kind of looks like an alligator, but bigger.
This is kind of what I picture. when I'm
From
picturing
Star
these
Wars.
frogs. That is one of the boss fights in Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order.
Ah, I see.
And basically, pretty much every gamer has come to curse Ogdo Bogdo because he comes pretty early in the game when you are not ready for him.
Oh, that sucks.
And so, like, you're just trying to beat him, and he is absolutely brutal.
I like these images of Cal being eaten by him.
Yes. Because he is like a frog.
Like,
he has a
jeez.
long tongue, and if you get hit by it, it will literally lasso you into his mouth where he crunches you and then drops your dead body on the ground.
Oh, lovely.
Yeah. Yeah, so I just wanted you to be blessed with that photo in your brain.
Yeah. I think that's a
Ogdo,
pretty apt description of it. Ogdo Bogdo. Star Wars. Look that up. So they pull up on the island, and Joshua's like, okay, I think this frog means to challenge us. So they gotta face down the frog before they can enter the tree and face down the pythoness. And I love this part, Rachel. She, like, pulls out her film camera, and she starts, like, taking pictures of Jasher facing down the frog. Like, action shots.
Might as well, honestly.
Right? I mean, like, no one ever believed you that you saw a frog that big, so might as well take a picture.
The frog initially tries to go for the Ogdo Bogdo, capture Jasher on the waist, and presumably yank him back into his mouth. But Jasher cuts off the tongue, which then remains around his waist like a weird belt.
Yeah, it doesn't really fall
But the rest
off.
of the tongue retracts, and the frog, roaring in pain, decides to go after the easier prey, leaps over Jasher, and knocks their boat off of the shore back into the water. Jason ends up in the water,
Yeah, he
whereas
falls
Rachel falls into the boat. And
the frog
yeah.
then gets Jason with its, injured tongue, but still determined to eat somebody, and starts, like, pulling him towards him, but then Jasher attacks from behind.
Mm-hmm. By the way, the frog has sharp teeth.
Oh, yeah. That is a good point.
So basically, like, an alligator and a frog hybrid.
Yes. The size of a horse.
The size of a horse.
Freaking big.
Because that's not terrifying.
Yeah, because it just had to get worse. But yeah, Jasher's able to take it down eventually. A lot of stabbing and slicing and...
So Jasher decides he's going to stay behind and guard the skiff, and he sends Rachel and Jason over to the tree to go and talk to the pythoness.
Yeah.
They decide to go in one at a time, just in case, might as well have somebody who knows the majority of the word. And Jason's like, okay, my turn. My cliff.
Yeah. They just keep going back and forth.
And he starts heading inside the tree. And it's very interesting. As he gets closer to the tree, as the chapter is drawing to a close, you can just see Jason's thought process and see what kind of effect this tree is having on him.
Yeah.
He's approaching the tree, and Jason's rubbing at his eyes. They felt itchy and drowsy all of a sudden. For a moment, he paused. What was he doing? Oh yeah, looking for a way into the tree. He gets closer. He took his poniard from his sodden cloak. Why was his cloak so wet? He couldn't recall. He knew he needed to get inside the tree, though. Why? For shelter? No, he needed more of the word. He slapped his cheek and shook his head. Cautiously, he edged into the gap, continuing forward as the woody passage curved deeper into the colossal tree, which is, by the way, so wide that 30 men couldn't together wrap their arms all the way around it.
Oh, yeah.
Big tree.
So big. Yeah, I like how, like, the chapter is ending, and he's, like, entering tree, like, fade to black as he enters the tree, and apparently not apparently, we know he's losing his ability to remember things for the time being. So, yeah. End of chapter 18. Now, chapter 19, Pythoness. So, Jason enters the tree and has basically forgotten literally everything, and is faced by a lovely young woman in her teens, staring at him in an astonishment staring at him in astonishment from a wooden rocking chair. And he kind of looks around and there's just like a rug, some bookshelves and stuff. And he's like, oh, there's like a little house in here.
Oh, man. You need to listen to Epic, because there's a song in there that is like perfectly encapsulates this vibes where,
okay.
like, it's like when they're on Cersei's island.
Yeah.
And like Eurylochus is like, but nothing could prepare us for the power that awaited inside. What did this palace hide? And he goes into a little rap battle. And then he's like, we faced a lot of foes, but this was a hell of a twist, because we are weak to a power like this. What was it? A woman. What?
A woman. Yes.
She had us in just 2 words. Come inside. Damn.
Jason is powerless to the power of this woman.
Indeed. And so that was just like the vibes.
Very much.
Good times.
I like how she's like, who are you, visitor? And then Jason's like, I don't know. And like every question she asks him, he's like, I got nothing.
I don't know.
I can't remember anything. Do you know who I am?
He puts away his knife. He's like, why am I holding a knife? What am I doing?
He's like, sorry, I don't know if I normally do that. I don't know why I have a knife. And so, since he can't really supply much of the conversation, she does. She introduces herself. She's like, oh, my name is Corinne. Like how he's like, where am I? Inside a tree. Duh, come on.
And like Jason's just trying so hard not to stare, because he's like, you're beautiful.
He is. It's so funny. She's very perceptive. She says, judging by the knife you hid, you are probably seeking the word. I recognize the emblem on its hilt.
And so she's like talking very calmly, very soothingly. She's like, it's a word to destroy an evil person you probably don't remember. She's like, you look distressed. And Jason's like, but I can't remember. He's like, do I have amnesia? And he's just like, I'm just so confused. And she's like, don't worry, are you hungry? And Jason's like, yeah, that one I can't answer.
Yeah. So she walks over to a wall covered with crumbly white cheese, breaks off a handful, puts it on a plate, gets him some water. Just got a cheese wall.
And also like a syrup from another wall.
Yeah.
Can I live in this house, please?
Yeah. It's got
everlasting
cheese wall,
everlasting supply of food,
water, syrup. Interesting.
Take that, charcuterie tables. We got a charcuterie wall.
Yeah. And then Jason, he's like, thank you. And then Corinne's like, my pleasure. I really entertain company. And then Jason, but you're so pretty, he said, surprising himself with his candor. He fleetingly wondered if he had brain damage.
Jason with no filter is awesome.
Right?
It happens a couple of times, and every time it's just like, this boy.
Oh my gosh, so funny.
So Jason's just admiring his surroundings as he eats, and Corinne decides to conduct her test. And she's like, I could put this mesh bag over your head. It'll probably help you remember. And Jason's like, it won't hurt me? Nope. And she's like, okay, sure then. She puts the bag over his head. But this knife might. Who are you?
Yeah. All of a sudden, because with the bag over his head, we learn that he isn't like being affected by the little mushroom spore puffball things. And he immediately remembers everything. So basically, from one part of his brain, nothing happened before he entered the tree. And then he's like, I don't know who I am. And then Jason, before entering the tree, all of a sudden he's walking into the tree. And then the next thing he knows, he has a bag over his head with a knife to his throat. And he's like, wait, what just happened?
And so basically the idea is Corinne is completely disarmed her guest. And she interrogates him very quickly on his intentions, who he is. And he responds he's Jason, sent by Galaran. And as well as some other things.
He explains that Galaran failed. And that's why he didn't come back.
And eventually, once she's satisfied with his answers, she takes the bag from his head, and immediately the switch is flipped.
Yeah.
And he's back to
Amnesia Jason.
Amnesia. Yes, that's a great way of putting it. Yeah, we're dealing with two Jasons in this chapter. There's pre-tree and post-tree.
Yeah, there's regular Jason, Amnesia Jason. We're back to Amnesia Jason.
Hi, Jason.
Yeah. Yeah, like, hi, Jason.
And this Jason is like, did you even put the hood on? So Corinne explains how the spores work around them. So basically, the entire tree is covered with spores that serve dual purposes. One, they keep away all of the creatures of the swamp. And two, they create this field of atmosphere that blocks the memory of any who enter while unveiling another portion of the mind.
Mm-hmm.
So basically, you go in, you forget out. You go out, you forget in.
Yeah, pretty much. Which is why this is so important that Jason didn't come alone.
Oh, very true.
Because Corinne is like, here, take some puffballs and go back outside. And so Amnesia Jason's like, okay, I'll do whatever you tell me, pretty girl. Like, and so he walks out, and then he runs
after
in.
she tells her the syllable, right?
Yeah. She tells him about the word and tells him the syllable, and then he goes out, and then it's funny because he runs into Rachel and he doesn't recognize her, and then he's like, "What are all these pretty girls doing in the swamp?" Like.
He has to keep, like, spraying himself with the mushrooms to keep himself in that mindset. And Rachel's just like, are you good?
She's like, what happened to you in there? You were gone for like 30 minutes. And he's like, do I know you? Does the name Jason ring a bell? She's like, does a word, are we looking for a word? And she's like, yes. And so he tells her.
What do you know?
Yeah. And so he tells her the syllable, and he's like, and she's like, why do you have a puffball? And he's like, oh, I don't know. And he smells, oh yeah, that's before he forgets again. But basically, he keeps going back and forth of, like, regular Jason, Amnesia Jason. But he explains, like, oh, these puffballs make me forget who I am. So that's why I'm kind of incoherent right now. But tells Rachel the syllable and everything. And, oh, also, something else. Corinne told them where to find the shortcut to find the next, syllable, because as we learned in the last at White Lake, that the last syllable that they're going to need after the Sunken Lands is at the Temple of Myeonamun, but Galaran,
which is like months away.
Yeah, which is very far away, very deep south jungle. But Galaran took a chance, and he got the syllable tattooed on this guy named Kemp, who is like a servant of Maldor and who apparently has like lots of tattoos. So now they just need to find that guy and find the tattoo of the last syllable on his back. So it's like a little
cheat
code that Galaran made that literally like no one else knows about.
So they give Jason a little bit of his backstory while he's still high on mushrooms.
Yeah.
And they go talk to Jasher, and Jasher's like, so you're saying these puffballs repel creatures, right? And they're like, yeah. He's like, okay, so maybe we can stay the night.
He's like, please, can we get some and stay the night in the tree? I don't want to have to do that again. So,
because like he's had to kill like multiple frogs.
Yeah,
while in like the half hour that
there's like 4
Jason
dead frogs in front of him. Like he is busy.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, so they managed to go back in the tree. And...
well, they put puffballs in the skiff first to keep.
Oh yeah, to protect it.
Yeah, and then they go back in the tree. And then Jasher and Rachel then also have the same experience of losing all the memories.
But they at least now have 5 out of the 6 syllables and a shortcut to the 6th.
Yep.
They're only missing the 2nd at this point. The 6th syllable was Puse. P-U-S-E. So we have A blank Fexendra Puse.
Yep.
So they get into the tree, and Corinne's like, oh, back so soon? And you brought friends. And Jason's like, this is Jasher and Rachel. I'm apparently Lord Jason of Caberton. And Jasher's like, you say my name is Jasher? That doesn't feel right.
And then Rachel's like, Rachel. Doesn't ring a bell. what's the matter with me? What stinks? And then Jason's like, we stink. It's really funny.
So they all get refreshments and start talking. And since Corinne is the only one who can remember more than 20 seconds,
yeah,
she shares her life story.
pretty much. I love this part where she's like, oh, I love to read. You don't have any books, do you? I've read all of mine so many times. Jason and Jasher patted their clothes and then looked and shook their heads as if they would just, like, have a book in their pocket or something.
And I'll reread the books if I have time to spare.
Exactly.
I'll paint the wall some more. I'm sure there's cheese somewhere.
There you go. Yeah, where's her Pascal? Come on.
Well, I mean, she's also literally blonde and green-eyed. I feel like it was meant to be at this point.
It is very much Corinne's song. But yeah.
Because she describes her entire life, basically. It's only been... She cannot remember her early childhood.
Yeah.
Because, well, she was not born in the tree.
She's grown up in the tree, though.
Yes. Most of her, like, all of her memories are inside the tree, and she came here with her mother, who was the previous guardian of the syllable, and she was known as the Pythoness.
Yeah.
She did have some power of prophecy, which kind of alienated her from the rest of the nobility where she grew up. Which, interesting, nobility, interesting.
Yeah.
But eventually, she said the only person who has ever visited before these three was Galaran. He had visited a few times when she was young, but other than that, absolutely nothing. Which is tough.
Lonely. Because she also
explains... She is literally Rapunzel.
She really is. She also explains that, like, one day her mother passed away after, like, clutching at her chest, and then she basically, like, died in her arms, which is, like, really sad. So she just
Thinking heart attack or stroke, maybe?
Yeah, I would guess heart attack. So she's just been alone for years, just isolated in the deadly swamp, can't really leave on her own. So she's just here, guarding the syllable.
She seems remarkably well adjusted socially.
Yeah, honestly.
She held the conversation just fine.
Not doing too bad.
No, she's doing great.
She's probably pretty eager for some conversation.
Mm-hmm.
So she's like, you guys must be tired. Jasher and Jason, you can take the bed. Rachel, I've got some blankets here you can curl up in, and then I'll sleep in the rocking chair, and we can all sleep here tonight.
It's honestly kind of heartbreaking, because multiple times, Jason, being this sweet, sweet amnesiac high on mushrooms, is always like, you could come with us, like, don't you want to come with us? Like,
yeah.
And she just has to, like, she even gets, like, teary-eyed saying, I'd love to, I wish I could, but she just can't. And she's like, I have to remain, I have to guard the word. And they, like, invite her, like, multiple times, and I'm like, guys, I know you don't understand why she can't, but stop!
I know, it is really sad. She's like, you cannot imagine how lonely I get, but she wishes them a safe journey.
Enjoy your...
Poor Corinne.
Few books.
Yeah, that she's, like, probably literally memorized. So yeah, they walk out of the tree, and then they're like, what just happened? And then they're like, wait, is it night or day? And then Josh is like, the sun's coming from the east. It must be daytime. We must have just spent the night in the tree.
They take some extra mushrooms as a extra precaution, because as they approach the skiff, there are at least a dozen frogs surrounding it.
They have
staring
come
at them
for their revenge on Jasher.
Well, maybe they're just coming from an extra meal, because apparently they ate the frogs that Jasher already killed.
True, yes.
Cannibals.
But at first Jasher's like, I guess I could throw some Orantium at them. And then Rachel's like, wait, no. Let's throw the puffballs. Because they're, repelled by those. And Jasher's like, well, at least one of us is thinking that's way smarter than my idea. So they do that, and the giant frogs immediately vacate the area.
Quickly, though, they get into the boat, and they start getting confused again because of the puffballs. Mm-hmm. So they're like, okay, let's just put the mushrooms in the front, Jasher in the back, he'll get us out, and we'll still have the mushrooms to help us out. And so Jasher has to once again remind them, watch out for the slime, but everything else steers clear.
Yeah.
And Jasher's like, hold tight, we're going full throttle.
Yeah, he's
and
like,
he just gets them out as quickly as possible.
he's like, because we have the mushrooms, I'm gonna use extra speed and let's just get out of here. I don't want to spend another night in this place.
He just starts paddling for all he's worth, and maybe living, was it 17 lifetimes? Gives you an extra high pain tolerance, but they get back to shore eventually, and Jasher's hands are covered with burst blisters.
Oof.
And I'm just like, way to take one for the team, dude.
Yeah.
Way to, like, he just went for it, and he just said, he didn't complain once, he never took a break. He just got them the heck out of Dodge. What a bro. Jasher's a bro.
Yeah, they barely make it by, like, nightfall, too. And then, right as they're getting out, says the light was dimming when they finally saw the muddy bank marking the end of the swamp and the beginning of the marshlands. Jason noticed an unusual fat frog sitting on a log. Look, he told Jasher, pointing to the frog. That one has a third eye. And of course, this is
Ogdo Bogdo.
Yes. So this is amnesia Jason. So he doesn't realize third eye is unusual, because then Jasher's like, get down. And, he's like, oh crap, that frog has a third eye because a displacer put it there. So now he kills the frog, but the displacer who put the eye on the frog now knows where they are and that they're leaving the sunken land. So he's like, we gotta get out of here.
They make it away. They get back to their horses, thankfully unaccosted, and they start playing their next move.
Yeah.
Jasher's like, we have hit a stroke of luck. The Temple of Myanmar would have been a long journey, but the second syllable is way now in our reach. And Jason's like, so do you know who this guy Kemp is? And Jasher's like, oh yeah, I do. So we get some background on that. Kemp serves Maldor. So, but apparently not long before Galaran was taken, he captured Kemp. And that's when he probably would have placed the tattoo. Kemp apparently collects them. He's a connoisseur, as one might say.
Yes.
And that most of the surface of his body is marked in green and black ink. And assuming the marker remains, it'll be on his shoulder blade.
Mm-hmm.
And the best part is, Kemp is currently residing in Harthenham Castle.
Where the Eternal Feast is held. And then Jason's like, I have an invitation to the Eternal Feast. So.
And Jasher's like, you read my mind.
Yeah. The place that Jason has been hearing about for so long and then was like, oh, it can't be that good. I don't think I really want to go because, it just sounds like a prison to me. Now he has a real reason to go to Harthenham. Yeah, so it's pretty perfect.
Mm-hmm. Also, interestingly, we've known of one other person to get invitations who rejected them, and that was Galaran. He received 3 invitations, and he rejected all of them. Another person who apparently has also received invitations is Jasher.
Mm-hmm.
Jasher has received 3 different invitations, and Jason's like, oh, could you come with me then, and maybe we could get Rachel in? Jasher, unfortunately, though, he's like, no, my final invitation had an ultimatum with a date that I allowed to lapse. He says, I am the only man I know of against whom Maldor has issued a standing death warrant. He no longer cares to beguile me. I am to be killed at any opportunity. If I joined you, I would be slain on sight.
Mm-hmm. Dang.
Well, I mean,
he's a kill on
sight.
Yeah. And then Jason's like, so what do you know anything about the feast? Is it a trick? And then Jasher explains, Maldor invites his most dangerous adversaries to the Eternal Feast at Harthenham Castle. Duke Conrad presides over the festivities. None who have answered the invitation have ever returned. And then Jason's like, is it a trick? Are they killed? And Jasher says, well, supposedly not. At first, his guests typically send correspondence explaining that they intend to prolong their stay, but inevitably, word comes that they have chosen to remain indefinitely. And they're like, getting in is the easy part. Getting out, not so much. But cross that bridge when we come to it.
So they decide that they're going to have to end up splitting up. Jason will depart for them, find a courier, a Scarlet Rider, Maldor's couriers, to say, hey, I want to accept my invitation to the Eternal Feast, and then he'll be escorted to Harthenham. He'll find Kimp, find the syllable, and find a way out where Jasher and Rachel will be hiding nearby, waiting to assist him with horses to get him out as quickly as possible.
Yeah. So yeah, that's what they do. Very end of the chapter, Jason flags down the rider, and he's like, hey, my name is Lord Jason of Caverton. And that guy's like, oh, I've heard of you. And he's like, I'm done fighting. I want to accept my invitation to Harthenham. This guy's like, well, this is more important than
anything I was
doing. And so he's like, hop on my horse.
I love how Jason holds up the invitation that he got from the Duke Nolan?
Duke Conrad?
Yeah. That was given to him by the regent.
Oh,
once it was sent to him.
Yeah.
He's like, I can just imagine him looking at him. He's like, it's a little wrinkled. I was kind of going through a swamp last week, but it's here.
Yeah, he's like, I got my golden ticket.
And I also appreciate the fact that, like, the courier was galloping across the distance, and it describes the horse as being bigger than any Jason had ever seen, which is pretty big considering that Jason himself is on a war horse that they stole from conscriptors a week ago.
True. That's a big horse.
I'm picturing, remember the horses we saw at the joust?
Yeah.
I'm picturing that's the kind that Jason's riding, and this horse is even bigger.
That's a pretty dang big horse.
That's a big horse. It's also just giving, Pony Express vibes.
Pretty much.
They are just constantly charging across the hilltops, but I'm assuming these horses have been enhanced in some way so that they can gallop for indefinite amounts of time, which I find cool.
Yeah.
Horses are awesome.
So, yeah, the messenger's like, okay, I'll see you safely to Bressington, and then an official escort will take you from there to Harthenham. Jason's like, all right, lead on. And that's the end of the chapter.
Off he goes. Fun times.
Woohoo!
That was chapters 16 through 19. We got through 4 of them today. And in these 4 chapters, we got 2 more syllables. And the hint for the final one.
Yeah. A lot happened in these chapters. Not only 2 syllables. We found out Farron was working for Maldor. And then we meet Jasher, who is pretty dang awesome. And then we meet Corinne as well.
Jason has 0 filter. He's like, man, so many pretty ladies.
I know, right? So funny.
He's such a dork.
He is. So, yeah. And now we're finally going to be able to go to Harthenham, which we've been hearing about since, chapter 1 or 2. So many people have mentioned it. So, finally get to see what it's all about.
So yeah, next chapter we're going to be doing chapters 20 through 22. Will be Eternal Feast through Escape. So
yeah,
it'll be another little 3-chapter arc, similar to Trenzacourt in length.
Fast approaching the end of this book. Mm-hmm. Only got 1 more syllable to go.
Oh, this next section is going to be kind of short. It's going to only be 40 pages.
All right, you got anything else to say about these chapters? I don't think I do.
Not entirely, just a renewed desire to never ever visit Florida, like the swamps of Florida or
the
Australia.
Everglades?
Yeah, I'm gonna pass. Unless I'm in a glass bubble.
Yeah, I've seen too many videos about Australia and all the deadly things there. It seems cool, but I don't know if I could handle it. I don't do spiders.
I was gonna say, when now you have spiders that are about a yard in diameter that are just casually in your house.
I become Ron Weasley at that point. No thanks.
Yeah, I just find it very, very amusing that in 2 chapters I've felt 2 very distinct climates have been explored.
Yeah.
Running in Phoenix and boating through the Everglades. It seems to be very well captured.
We're making our way around. And now Jason's gonna go live in luxury for a sec.
Well then, in that case, everyone, thank you so very much for joining us for this section of Beyonders Book 1, A World Without Heroes. If you have any questions or comments, we would love to hear about them. Please feel free to reach out to us at knightsofthedawnpodcast@gmail.com or by liking, commenting, and subscribing to any of our platforms where you are listening to this podcast. We are super excited to keep coming out with updates about the Fablehaven movie, with our review of the new Guardians book, which I've recently finished and I very much enjoyed. So we'll be getting a review to you guys on that very, very soon. Well then, until next time, I'm Jessica.
And I'm Megan.
Follow the music.
See ya!